And welcome back to the True Patriot Outfitters podcast, folks. We have another special edition here, Colorado Kayak Bassmasters, Red Willow Lake, Nebraska recap. We just got done with a doubleheader there in Nebraska, a day one and a day two separate events at Red Willow. Super excited to go back to this beautiful, beautiful area. Fantastic fishery. She was a little stingy, a little rough. There was kind of a funk going on there with the weather that came through, we think. But nevertheless, still at the end of the day, it always, irons out at the end of the day. Lots of big fish were put up. On the scales there, and the few at the top brought it together with some great numbers here. We have our day one top finishers, our first and second place with us here. So let's go ahead and bring these guys into the studio here. First, we will bring in our second place, Mr. Dustin Mues, and his beautiful wife, Miss Jen Mues. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thank you, Gene.
Jen, you and I had the same kind of day on day one, so we'll talk about the pictures. Yeah, exactly. You and I were holding up the skunk train back there.
We were. At least I wasn't the only one.
That's right. No, you had lots of company. That was a stingy day. Then we'll bring in the guy that just basically put on a clinic for the rest of us out there that actually threw my entire whole issue. I'll explain once he gets here. Let's bring in Mr. Matt Flannagan. What's happening, Captain?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Hey.
So, Matt, I'm going to say this. This is where you completely, threw the monkey in my wrench on this thing. There's your dog. That's awesome. Yeah.
That's Higgins.
Higgins. What's up, Higgins? So last year, we go as the CKB, I think, did we go in like late July or August, something like that?
I think so, yeah. Yep. It was at least a month or two later.
It was like, surface of the sun hot. That's all I remember, when we got there, dude. It was just broiling.
Yep.
And I bought in, went totally in on the south side, went after it. All of us that went to the south side, if we were lucky, had a bag of rats at the end of it, real small ones.
Year, yep.
Everybody that went north got healthy.
Yep.
So coming into this year, I'm like, oh, hell nah. I'm going north. Yep. That's how we're going to do this. Yep. So I went north. What happens? Flannagan goes south and paces the field. However, Dustin, you were north. And you came.
I wasn't north.
You weren't north?
No, I was south. Jen was the one that went north.
Okay.
So we both started on the south boat ramp, and then she ventured off to where she caught her fish last year in June.
Yep.
And it was blown out.
Dumb idea.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, that's where every one of us that, I think there may be a couple that found a few up there, but yeah, south was the name of the game, and it wasn't just everywhere south. You guys, Dustin and Matt, you guys found the couple, the magic down there to put things together. So let's, obviously, Dustin, you're from this area. You and Jen, you guys live, like 10 miles from there?
Well, we're 10 miles west of McCook, and then I think the lake's, 13 miles north of McCook. So, It's about a 30-mile drive for us to get there. So, it's a home lake, and, we fish it regularly. Otherwise we go to Swanson Reservoir and fish there a lot. So, but that's our two main lakes close to home that we like to fish.
Now, Swanson, not to go too far off on a tangent, but Swanson, as I was driving by, looked like, I think it got affected more by that rain, did it not?
Yes. Oh, it was all the rain that happened from Stratton.
Yep.
That all flooded into the Frenchman Creek, and that Frenchman Creek went into the Republican River, and then it just flowed right into Swanson.
We needed that so
bad.
Yeah,
it was super low. Yeah, it was super low, and then we went driving by after all the rain. It's like, oh my gosh, look how full the lake is.
That's why we started to switch. McCook wasn't much fuller,
Yep.
But we started to have to switch because we were running out of. The fishery was just not good out. It was starting to get so muddy we couldn't get in, and
there's no cover.
So we started to travel the extra few miles, but we've been really busy this year, and we haven't been able to fish Red Willow.
Yeah.
I told Dustin, and I could have put my feet down, and I'm testing myself now because I made a really dumb mistake. But I told Dustin that I didn't want to pre-fish. We knew enough where the fish were going to be at this lake. They're always in the same place.
We didn't want to sore lip the fish we were going to go catch. We know where we're going fishing. It's a matter of just going there and fishing.
Right.
We're not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I started making that change in the boat world 3-4 years before I moved over to kayaks, which is I don't fish that much in practice. I do more snooping, especially these new bodies of water. I mark. I go around and it's, I'm eating my Uncrustable down there. Hello, Smuckers. Yes. And, let's do this, Smuckers. Let's go. I'm doing that and I'm marking stuff. I'm marking grass. I'm marking structure, things that won't change. I stopped marking fish a lot. I'll make mental notes. Sometimes I'll drop like, hey, this, fish this area type thing, but just the fish move, but rocks and stumps don't, you know what I mean? And grass patches don't. So it's always a matter of that morning. Let's see what happens. Let's see what's playing and then go after it. Right. So yeah, I get that.
And it's a matter when you go out and pre-fish too, you're going out to find fish. So if you took your hook and you just cut off the end of it, so you're not hooking the fish, it'd be really good just to go out. You got a bite. And if you wanted to find out if it's the right species, you can catch one, but then just stop. And just keep fishing your lure and see if you got a technique down. But other than that, from what I heard during the award ceremony, people were like, oh, I caught 7 and they were 19 and 20. And it's like, you caught all the fish you needed for the tournament. And, it's fun.
Damn it.
You don't want to stop. Fishermen don't want to stop because you're catching good fish. You might as well catch them because you want the picture with them. But if you're at a tournament coming up next couple of days, you need those fish.
Dude, and I'll tell you, coming from Colorado, we don't get a chance to sample that kind of green fish that often. Right. We've got a few lakes that hold.
You guys were super excited.
Hold some green fish in there, but this was a big thing. Yeah, it's like we get a chance to get out there and get into them, and it's cool because that's it's not that far away for the CKB to get there. So, yeah, man. So I'm looking here, day one. 1 second here. Let's put this screen up here. And technology, yay. All right, so we got this. So we'll throw this up here. Let me take this down. So day one, Dustin, you put up, you got yourself a couple hammers in there, dude. 21, 20 and a quarter. But it was those 2 little 12 and a halfers that down there that kind of cut into it there towards the end.
Those little ones that I was glad they did. I was searching and searching. As soon as that sun came out, my bite was gone. I fished for hours and not a single bite. And I was getting, kind of freaked out. Like, what am I going to do? I got 2 more fish. The last time I looked at the leaderboard, I'm like, I'm only this far behind. I got to catch some fish. I caught a 21 and a 20. I'm like, there got to be big fish. And I just kept fishing for them. And, and then you go to all your other spots that you have marked on your own lake and everybody's already on them. So.
I was joking. I couldn't even turn around. After I'd gone a really stupid direction. I knew. And you can't see that section of the lake from the road unless you go up and around. And it was muddy, right?
Yeah.
So, oh, man. Once I got and saw the mud line over there, I'm like, you're a dumb girl. What'd you do? I knew right away because my strength is definitely not fishing that muddy stuff. That was pretty blown out north. For sure. I should have just stayed over, but somebody went behind me, and I knew that south cove, there's really not unless you're local, there's really not a lot of space.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot of space for 2 people. So I turned around and got out of there, and then I was like, man, the fish are north. Go north. They weren't.
Well, and what's super cool on this though is that second and third you both came in with 82 and a quarter, but Dustin, it was those 2 big swamp donkeys that you put in, and the 20 and a quarter. Both of those were the tiebreaker for that easily put it up there. But man, your third place, it wasn't from a lack of trying. He put up 5 + 4. He was submitting fish, man. And the funny thing, he sat on that dam all day long and put up numbers out there. which that was pretty impressive. That was Tim Van Sickler that sat out there.
Tim's a good fisherman.
And that dam, there's always fish on those rocks on that dam. It's just a matter of getting them to bite.
He was patient, and he caught him. He was patient, and when we heard what he was fishing with, I was like, man.
That's finesse at its finest. That's that Colorado fishing. That's what he got those bites on.
I'll tell you, that's my biggest weakness, man. And I've been learning from guys like Matt and others out there, learning the finesse game. That, that's how, that's the way we got to fish out here with the pressure that we have and the type of fish and the gin clear water. I mean, when you've got 15 to 18 foot visibility, it's hard to fool those fish out here, especially smallies, which I have always said are far brainier than the green ones. Green ones are maybe a little more acrobatic and fun, but those smallies are mean and smart, man. So
I agree.
It all comes down to even the right fishing line for smallmouth.
Oh, man, for sure. Yeah. Matty, you were on the other side of this, brother. You were like, you know what, we're going south, and you found some stuff in practice that worked for you, and talk us through it. Your whole day out there.
Well, I didn't. The cove I ended up fishing in all day. I didn't touch in practice. I had some history in that cove from last year, so I knew there were fish there. I was like, I'm not even going to touch it on practice day. Like Dustin and Jen were saying, just leave them alone on practice day.
Yep.
But I didn't know I was going to start there. If you ask anybody that was at the loop the night before the tournament, I wouldn't shut up about how I didn't know where I was going to start. I was just so indecisive because it's like, I know it was one up north last year. I've only ever really caught fish down on the south side. That's where I had the most experience. So I literally driving into the lake that morning, I was like, am I turning right and going north, or am I going straight across the dam and going south? I didn't know, and I was just like, screw it, I'm going south. And it turned out it was the right decision, obviously.
Dude, I remember that at the loop, you and I were sitting next to each other, and several times you were rubbing your head, and you're doing the hat scratching thing, trying to figure out where am I going south? Am I going here? I knew I was either Spring Creek or Willow View. I knew that for myself. I was not going to touch the south. I drove by the ramp. I looked at the ramp. I waved at you guys. I drove away,
It's steep.
Oh, was that you who drove up in the morning and that just kept going?
Not on tournament morning, no.
Okay. Because somebody did on tournament day. Somebody pulled up, stopped, and then just took off.
No. Friday morning, I did that. I drove by there. I was looking around, and I was like, meh. No, I've got another ramp up here that's closed. If I really want to do it, I'll go up there. And Willow View about killed me getting my yak back up that stupid thing. Going down wasn't so rough.
That's the easy part.
I'm telling you, if I had a pedal system, if I was pedaling all day and then tried to bring, my yak would still be at the bottom of that ramp right now. Because there's no way I would have got that thing back up.
You just got to get a little bitty 10-foot native slayer like I got, 65 pounds. Just throw it on your back.
I think we're all going to have a hitch on the front to pull our stuff up.
ATV winch. Yep.
Put a winch on it.
Harbor Freight, here I come.
That's right.
We were bragging about that tow and stow. If we wouldn't have had that, me and Dustin would have been dead last.
I just got the big one, the Bunkster. I just picked that thing up from Yak Attack, and it's so much. I mean, there's no way my landing gear would have ever survived that. It would have bent the wheels. I would have ripped the rails out of my yak. It would have been horrible.
And then they fold down, and you can stow them away. They're great.
It was great.
For sure.
Dustin was like, "Thank you."
No kidding. So Matt, you go south there. What was you want to spill any of the juice as far as, some of the ways? I mean, I was pitching grass, bro. I can tell you that. Jigs and Texas rig. That's what I was hitting with.
A little bit of Texas rig, but 90% of the day was a buzz bait.
You and Jason, you guys just got on that buzz bait. And Dustin, I think you threw that for quite a while as well.
Yep, I threw a buzz bait, and I lost them. I was finesse fishing. I was just going with a weightless little Cinco, and I lost the 19 at the end of the day with probably like 5 minutes till it was time to stop, and I mean, I was heartbroken.
I fished the same buzzbait, so it's all lies.
Yep.
It's in the right spot. I promise you, I fished the same damn buzzbait, and it didn't happen for me. So the hell was that?
It's location.
I was going to say
Hey, but that's not true because Jason fished where I fished up in the schmutz up there, and all he did different was switch the color of the buzzbait.
I think I saw that on Navionics. Schmutz Bay is up there.
Schmutz Bay. It's
Whatever that place was.
No, you know what? For those of you out there that are watching this, you should learn something about this because I was taught this as well. Topwater is my drug, y'all. I mean, I'll throw topwater till I'm blue in the face. If I think it can go 55-degree water, I'll try it. Don't care. I'm gonna throw something if it looks juicy. But where I learned this was actually from a very, very well-skilled Missouri angler that fishes down in the Moyak region down there. I watched him put a clinic on Truman Lake with a buzzbait. And I'm sitting here going, where you're throwing it, I would have never thrown it. And I watched this guy literally right in front of me just tear things up. And I started picking up that buzzbait a lot more and started buying into it. And next thing you know, I'm starting to, understand the advantages of it. And like you said, it is a location thing and it is a color thing. As much as I'd like to think that moving color didn't really matter, it actually does. When you get that right. And yeah, there's guys that will literally put that in their hand and gals, they'll put that in their hand all day long and they'll live and die on that sword, man.
That was my
dad.
Yep. See, that was up until probably last season. I was a early morning low light or end of the day low light only for topwater. That was just stuck in my head for some reason until last season. I'm not even sure where. I think it was one of our guys actually in one of our tournaments talking about how they just throw a buzzbait all day. I'm like, who throws a buzzbait all day in bright sunshine and stuff? I had never done that, and I just started doing it last season, and I'm a believer now.
So I'll tell you, I took it to one extra step too, is I actually have multiple sizes of the buzzbaits. I actually have some of the tiny guys. I first started off with the Strike King. And I actually do kind of like those. I can take those through some real gnarly grass and get those through. But now I also added into that in that smaller size, the crocagator. I picked up a few of those head knockers, and I'll burn those through weeds as well. And I'll throw those sometimes even just on an egg beater, man. I'll put them on a spin cast. And just because they're so light, there's no trailers to them. It's just, and I'll slow roll that stuff through if I'm just looking for feedback, watching for tail swats. But yeah, you can get.
The good thing about a buzzbait anyway is it gets big fish. You're not usually catching 10, 12 inch bass. You're going to catch something that's got more quality to it. For some reason, a buzzbait will draw the big girls out. It's something about the noise, I don't know, or a bigger meal.
It's not a buzzbait. I mean, a good secondary bait's going to be that jackhammer. And I don't know why, but I mean, you get multiple species on it, but it's really effective.
Yeah. So, Tyler Cole, All-American Kayak Series, old salty dog. You ask him anywhere he goes, Tyler, if he does well, he'll tell you chatterbait and a frog. Mm-hmm. I think he's just.
He used to be a giant jig man for a long time. I got some skills from that guy because he was a jig man, but.
I think he just says chatterbait and frog just to throw us all off. I really do.
That's probably where I started using it. I started seeing him winning. I'm like, what the heck? I'm going to use that. Yeah, so Tyler, we actually saved Tyler's life, my daughter and I. He flipped over at a tournament and was drowning.
Underneath the kayak. Yeah, he was caught underneath the kayak.
We love that guy. Like, we had
Holy
a really
Moses.
crazy meeting, but my daughter, we had little tiny, at that time, man, we were really beginners. Remember, I think we talked to Matt about it. We started off in old Sun Dolphins, but I promise you those things could move on the top of the water.
Right.
He paddled over as fast as he could, and he wasn't really able to get up right away just because he was kind of caught up in some of that, the trees and the
trees and moss and weeds and
it was at Lake Quanahoo, and we were just in the center of there, and he kind of got caught up, and he that was terrifying for him. I mean, we all
Yeah.
vowed to always wear our life vests after that because he dang near drowned during a tournament. We've been like religious wearers of our life jacket since that day.
Oh, yeah. No, I actually had an opportunity to serve on the Larimer County Dive Rescue Team up in Fort Collins for several years. And I'll tell you, the one stat that comes back on all the Coast Guard stats about drownings is the 80% of the drownings are people without PFDs on. Yep. Dude, you could make a living in Vegas on those odds, okay? 80%. Don't be dumb and don't give the excuse. It's not comfortable enough. Shut up. They make them. It's the one area you don't skimp on, man. You make sure that PFD is on there. But so Matty, what was different in your mind, brother, from last year compared to this? Was it just the conditions? But because you kind of went to a similar area last year, didn't you?
Yeah. I went to the same exact creek last year, actually. Yeah.
Because you and I were going. I watched you peel off. I kept going.
Yep.
Until I got to the border of Colorado, I think,
yep.
Roughly somewhere in there. And you peeled off and went to work in there. And last year it didn't pan out as well. But this year the quality was sitting down there.
It's got to be the weather,
just
water
the conditions.
Because overall the lengths were bigger last year. It took mid 90s or mid 90s to win last year, as it usually does. When I was pedaling back at the end of the day with 86, I'm like, man, 86 is not going to do it. Somebody hasn't uploaded yet. It's always takes in the 90s here.
Right.
So I don't know. The fact that the big ones were down south, I can only put it up to weather and water temps. I don't know. Well,
dude, it's been a long time coming. How long have you been in kayaks, Matt? It's not been long, has it?
No. This is on my second year competing and just my third year in a kayak. I had the kayak for less than a year before I started competing with the clubs. But
that's
awesome.
I
was doing my second season.
So you're that kid in class. You're that fast learner one. You're making the rest of us over here look bad. I appreciate that, Matt. Thanks.
Well, you're not going to think I'm so smart when you see my video from the event, the 20 that I dropped into the water.
Oh no!
I was actually editing my footage when you texted about doing this. So early in the morning on Saturday. Or early in the tournament, I think I had two fish at that point. I had a 12 and a 17 and a half, and I hooked a big one. Got it in the net, in the boat. I'm holding it, checking it out. Big fat belly. It actually had a crappie tail sticking out of its gullet, which I'd never seen before.
Nice.
Oh man, this is it. I'm on it. It was all a 19 to 20, easy. And so I'm holding it in my left hand, and I setting up my net next to my board, as I always do. I always do that, set up my net so they don't flop off. And I was getting ready to lay it down, and my net sort of started flopping over. And like a genius, with the hand that was holding the fish, I went to grab the net,
that would be
pulled back up, and he flopped, and boom, gone.
And a 20-inch bass, dude, he's got some power. I mean, that's gonna come loose of the hand in a hurry.
Yeah. I was in a mood for a couple hours, and I thought that was it. I thought I lost it. I was like, how do you recover from dropping a 20?
That's what I'm going through my head. You drop a 20 off on a game that that on a lake that is, you got to be efficient and clean on that during that weekend, man. You can't lose that stuff. So for you, you're living right somewhere, brother, because somehow you survived that with Dustin chasing down your tail.
You always hear people always say, sometimes it's just your day, and it had to be just my day, because overcoming a mistake like that, just a stupid mistake.
And this was your first win.
Yes, my first win.
Yeah.
The best part.
But I was stressing all day, even after I got two more 19s, got up, in the mid-high 80s, was feeling pretty good. I was in first place all day, but I was, of course, expecting maybe some people haven't loaded yet. Didn't feel safe. And the whole pedal back, I'm thinking, if I get beat by 2 inches, I am going to lose, because my smallest was a 14.25. So
Wild turkey, here I come.
That was about a 5.5-inch call I lost.
You'd
So
be like, tonight it's over.
Oh, I was just like sick to my stomach thinking about.
I knew when you pulled up, and when you got out, I was like, oh man! I looked at the leaderboard and I'm like, dude, this is the winner right here.
Well, I still didn't know until I got to awards, because there were people like Trev, Scott Brands, Jason Duong, guys that are always up there in the top 5. They didn't have much on the board, so I'm like, somebody's holding back fish.
Somebody's sandbagging.
Yeah. Somebody's sandbagging. I'm not getting my hopes up. And then I got there, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. So, I saw Trev didn't have much. Somebody's like, no, Trev went in the water. He only got 1 fish. I was like, oh, okay. And I saw Scott. He's like,
that's 1 down.
Talking at Brands.
Justin forgot to tell me. He forgot to add the.
Well, whenever we're trying to figure out what I had for my length, and I'm going through it, and I'm like, I only got like 80.5 inches, and I'm like, and then when we did the awards ceremony, they told me I had like 82 and 12. I'm like, no, that can't be right. I'm like, that don't sound right.
Yeah.
And I went back and got my phone, and got my calculator out. I'm like, I got to do this with the calculator. And it came out. I'm like, I did get 82 and 12 inches.
He told me 80. I'm like, oh man,
I thought somebody made a typo or
like,
something.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I forgot to add I had 2 12.5s, and I just added 12 and 12 together instead of 12.5 and 12.5.
He was way off. I was like, oh, you didn't. You got to get hard. Yeah.
I was tired.
Matt, I'm in the same. So early on day 2, I was in the lead I was like the first to get a limit up, and on day 2, and I knew that Jason was doing well, because Jason and I were the only 2 in the north up there, back and forth from each other. And we were watching each other catch fish. I mean, so I knew he was actually doing better than what that said. When he went up to first place, when he loaded, and he had me like by 3-4 inches there, I'm looking down there, and for some reason my gut was telling me, and I looked at Trevor, I saw he had like 3 fish. And I'm like, nah, he's got more than I know. Trev's coming, sooner this is going to happen. And then, so yeah, when he called him up there, I'm like, I literally, when I got up there with him, I'm like, this is between you 2. I guarantee it. Yeah. So when they called third place, I'm like, yeah, that's me. Third place.
How many times does it come down to those 2? I mean,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Well, Jason, I just got done with an interview with them that'll air after this one for day 2. And, Jason's been doing this thing since like dirt was invented, man. I mean, he's been around for so long, and he doesn't look it. That's the thing. I asked him, I was like, how the heck do you stay, young looking like that? I'm over here aging like milk, and here he is. I'm like, what's the, but he's one of the founding members of CKFC, man.
He was talking about how when he first started doing tournaments, it was just onlines only in like some message board room, and there were like calculations for if you're in Colorado, you get plus this inches to match up with the guys down in Texas. It's like, what in the world are you talking about, Jason? Like,
and somebody in a locked room, that sounds like Rain Man back there. Definitely 84.5 inches. You know what I mean? I mean, that's how they were doing their calculations through the whole thing.
It at all. Yeah, it was crazy. But.
So yeah, it's no. And now Trevor is just, he's worked hard to get where he's at, and that's the thing. Dude works his tail off. So yeah, I get it that you couldn't. And then, like I said, let's throw in the fact that we got Dustin and Jen Mues jumping in, our little event here, which is awesome. What got you guys? So normally you guys are on the national series, right? I mean, that's what you guys primarily fish. Right. So you saw CKB coming into town. How did that work out? How did you notice that we were coming there?
Well, we fished it. What would it be? A couple of years ago when they first came to Red Willow.
Oh,
Colorado
nice.
Kayak Bassmasters. That was the first time Bassmasters started, and it was a qualifying event. And I think Jen and I both qualified through that event. I think they took the top 5. That was before they made it the top 10%. They took your top 5 people. And we both came in place where we could make it to the national level and fish at Possum Kingdom 2 years ago.
Nice.
And we just kind of sat around and thought about trying to do it and trying to figure out, how to afford it and travel to all these places.
A lot more expensive than there's 2 of us.
Yeah, when they made these tournaments up, it's like, oh, these tournaments are 14 hours away, 18 hours away. Are we going to
I know, right?
That? We got 2 kids at home and school, sports, work. It's like it was hard to do.
Yes, sir.
this one came up and we talked about it. I'm like, you want to do it? I saw that James put in there that the deadline was cut off at the night we were trying to do it.
I remember that. That was awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we're trying to get everything squared away. I'm not getting any responses. We
started a new job, so we were trying to figure out something. And once we opened it and said that anybody could do it, we're like, gosh, is that a lake that's local? We might as well just try to do it. So
right.
We barely got in because, of course, James goes to bed like your grandpa at 8 o'clock.
We couldn't get a hold of anybody. And then we tried getting a hold of Matt. Matt was already in bed, too.
Like time stamped it that it was the night before. I'm like, thank you. We almost left you, but thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, we entered it at the last minute just to go and fish our first tournament of the year. So
we did. It usually goes that way. One of us will, blow it out of the water, and the next guy gets skunked or does something really dumb. And this time it was me that did something really dumb. But I tried to correct myself, and then everybody was on my spot, and I was like, man, you just lost. I actually didn't fish anything after the afternoon. I did not get my fish bites until after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I got 2, and I lost both fish. I believe, I'm almost positive I looked today that I caught my personal best bass and lost it again because I caught it in exactly the same spot. I'm almost positive.
And that's one of the things with the CKB that I will say is that you said you look around and everybody's on the good spots out there. The CKB roster is definitely no joke. I mean, these are good anglers here that, put the work in. They know what they're looking for. And they're the skills that you learn in Colorado, I think really travel well anywhere. Because you have to learn that pressure piece. So especially if it's fishing a little tough, it's hard against these guys, man. You gotta, that's why I'm glad I got a motor. It doesn't make me any faster than these guys. They'll still go just as fast, sometimes faster than me, but I can get there, sipping coffee or whatever while they're huffing and puffing.
And we knew we were capable because last year we had taken for KBF, we had taken June and July. We understood. We finally connected the dots and figured out the patterns. And, for the most part, the patterns typically stay about the same. And, we were able to capitalize that way. But I think what helped mainly, specifically for Matt and Dustin, is that they did not pre-fish.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Period. What screwed me is I did not pre-fish.
Right. I know, right? I pre-fished, but
well, you forgot to go too far up north. You forgot to tell me.
No, so I'll flat out tell you. But my situation was where I ended up finally getting on them for day 2. In practice, I didn't give it enough time. So the lack of fishing, or I shouldn't say that, it wasn't a lack of fishing. It was me trying too much stuff in a short period of time. Yeah. I look for I look for wood, I look for rocks, I look for transition changes, some kind, grass, and I always forget that thing that was grilled in my head when I started tournament fishing up in Minnesota, which was find the grass and you find the bass.
Yep.
It doesn't matter where you're at in the entire country, that remains true, so it's like.
As soon as I heard somebody talking about all the grass, the exact statement, I'm like, you're dumb. Find the bass, find the grass. I knew right away.
And it's, so for me during my pre-fishing piece, my issue was I just didn't spend enough time looking at these things and paying attention, getting that feedback, so to speak. But.
Well, and up north, believe it or not, even with all that flooding, still quite wasn't as high as it was last June and July.
Right.
And so therefore, where I got them all, instead of being in, 3 to 5 foot of water, was now schmitz and nothing really out there. So.
Schmutz Bay, yeah.
Turn into Schmitz Bay.
Yeah.
That's right. So Matt, what's this feel like, dude? I mean, you're not only going against the CKB, originals that are out there, but then these two come in, and bless us to come in and fish with us as well. This gotta feel sweet, buddy. It's your first win. This has gotta feel special.
Absolutely. I honestly, when I started tournaments last season, I had no expectations whatsoever. I was like, if I don't skunk, I'll consider that a success.
There you go.
You know, I knew I could catch fish. You know, I've been bass fishing for long enough, but always from the bank. Never had a boat, never had a kayak. I was always just a bank fisherman. But you know, I could catch fish. Mm-hmm. But you know, against some of the people in the club, I was like, man, I you know, I'm just doing this for fun. I've never competed. I really wanted to try it out. And then I actually had a good first, you know, good rookie season. I had some top tens. Had a third place, a fourth place. I finished, I think, 5th in AOY for CKB, 12th in CKFC. So I was like, you know what, maybe I got a shot at winning one of these days. You know, and then you come home with something like this.
Can't beat it, brother. Can't beat it.
Like. That's right. We're going to totally fish one of your tournaments too, buddy. We're going to try our best. I don't know if we'll have it right, but we're totally going to try.
Yeah.
So, and that was, I was going to say, you know, I mean, this is all leading down to, we got Norton coming up. That'll be our next one. And then it's the championship, Horsetooth. I mean, that's the big one that we're going to be going there at the end of September.
Norton's my place, man.
I was going to say,
I'm going to say it now. I'm the one to beat at Norton.
You've been there a ton, and we've been watching the pictures.
I convinced Strobridge to put it on the schedule.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not that far from Norton. We're supposed to.
I was going to say, Norton's not too far from you guys, Jen, Dustin. I mean,
it's only a little over.
You hear that Jaws coming for you. You know it's
that's right. And now that you're talking smack, now I'm a little more incentivized in this thing, I think.
It's a fun.
That was a bad day.
There won't be as many 20s as you get out of Red Willow, but numbers like you wouldn't believe. It just not crazy amounts of 2-pounders all day.
Any day fishing is a good.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that's one of my favorite things. You know, Jason Duong said something on the previous interview that really rings true. Catching fish out by yourself or with friends or whatever, and tournament fishing are literally night and day.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to explain to somebody who doesn't tournament fish why is it that you can go out and you know, put people on fish all day long and have a great time, but a tournament comes in and then you have a day like I had, you know, where you catch everything but scoreable bass. And I tell people, you know what, if it were that simple, I would have quit this a long time ago with the amount of times that I've been, you know, zeroed out there or just had bad days. Tournament fishing is just different, folks. It's a time crunch. It's a you know that you're one decision away from glory or trash. You know,
it's like my buddy said. He's like, "You were one fish short of glorious." That's what he told me.
Yeah,
that's what my buddy Zoltan Simone said. He's like, "You're one fish short of glorious." That's all I needed was one more fish, and I'd be taking that little trophy and pounding on it myself. That's all it would take.
Yeah,
which is why I wanted to puke when I dropped that 20 in the water.
Exactly. Well, you know, and I've seen this more in the kayak world than ever I did in the boating world. Usually in the boating world, especially local regional events, there's one angler or a team, you know, of anglers that goes out and just paces the field, dude. They drop 24, they drop a dirty 30 on the scales, whatever. And then everybody else is like 18 and down, you know, type thing. And it's closer back in those. But I've seen more tight finishes and literally one cast away from changing everything in the kayak game than I ever, you know, have elsewhere. And that's, to me, that's one of the things that this is why, as long as this fat body here keeps wanting to keep trucking, I'm going to keep doing it, you know, and keep going after it. Cause I know that it is one cast, man, that could change everything, you know, completely there.
You're fishing against yourself. I mean, once you get yourself in your own head, that's when things start tumbling. That's when the snowball effect, you start going downhill. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you're overthinking yourself. You just need to stick with what you're good with and go with it.
Dustin's a very good angler, so the only person I ever want to be is him. I don't care about being anybody but Dustin.
Yeah, it's always a competition every time we go out.
And we fight. When you get to my spot, I'm like, bro, you're on the wrong side.
Right. Folks at home that are watching this right now, you were just given some serious Yoda tournament fishing level experience advice here, that while we joke around with each other constantly and we're trying to take each other's money out there, you truly are not fishing against anyone. except yourself. I mean, that is some next level advanced, takes some people years to recognize that, and come to grips with that. But it truly is just you trying to work with Mother Nature out there. I mean, sometimes I want to cram that freaking rapala right down the little fish's throat. You bite it, would you? But for the most part, you're trying to work with them and figure it, and get there. Matt, did you ever fish out of boats, or is it always competitively fishing out of a kayak? That's all you've ever done, just 2 years into it?
Never been in a bass boat in my entire life.
That's awesome, bro.
Not even as a co-angler. No.
You do need to try it a couple times.
I'd like to. Yeah, I'm not against it. I could just never afford one.
Yeah.
No, we can either.
You just find somebody with one of those nice little glitter rockets and just hop on and let them take you through a ride.
Yeah.
You'll never get on one again.
It feels like the highway to heaven, Matt.
I'm not opposed.
Heaven, she says. Depends on who's behind that throttle, that hot foot.
It felt like we were headed straight towards heaven.
Yeah, you're going 75 with a mouthful of bugs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it would be fun. And again, I'm not anti-boat, but
Sure.
They just seem like such a headache dealing with
We thought so too. That's why
the lines at the boat ramp and the maintenance.
And the money.
It's like
the people are different
money.
too.
Yeah,
I swear the kayak anglers just have a better camaraderie.
Yeah,
We run a boater world, but I just still think the kayak industry has a little bit better camaraderie.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, no disrespect anywhere, but that's 100% pure accurate right there. The kayak community is just a closer knit group. Now, that could be because there isn't as much money on the line yet. It's coming. I think when companies see it, and more of these companies like Hello MLF, get in the game already. When they start to see this and our sport goes where we know it's all going to go, maybe that changes. But I would like to think that the roots of the kayak community, I mean, you hear it all the time about, like, Trev made a point after he flipped, Massimo was right behind him and helped him out, stopped his tournament fishing immediately.
Nice guy. I met him too.
Alex goes in the water. Matt Collins comes from the other side of Pueblo to get up there and help him get his gear back and get himself righted, right in the middle of a tournament. You hear this stuff now. You see it occasionally on the boating side. I've seen it. I've done it myself, but it's just the type of people that are in the kayak community, man. I'm 100%, totally in as well. I'm only in my second year too, Matt, and I haven't won anything. Well, I shouldn't say that. I got a couple thirds. Yeah.
You say it's going to blow up and MLF get in the game and the monies go up. Tell them to hurry up before me and you age out of this thing.
This is what I'm saying.
Well, someone will invent a handicap accessible kayak.
Yeah, right?
You'll be just fine. It'll be a hover round, only it'll be a kayak.
I'm not sure if that was a compliment or.
We're older than you guys think.
Don't worry, my back feels probably the same
We
as
all
everybody
have
else's.
our kayaker butt. We all have kayaker back. So,
Yeah, that's what I figure. I've got a trailer that I use for all the TPO stuff, when we have multiple, when I have all, the 3 total that we take out. But otherwise, I made the choice. I started the season off towing the trailer around. I just kept 2 kayaks there, so I had a backup. And then I started thinking to myself, good God, if I need a backup yak, I'm probably driving home, man, because something bad really happened. If I need an entire new kayak to go fishing. So then I also thought to myself, you know what? I need this, I got to shed about 30 pounds to get back down to good fight weight. And I'm sitting there thinking, the moment I can't get that kayak in the bed of my pickup, I should probably stop this and go get on a treadmill or something, So yeah, going in the pickup. Matt, you've got the setup though, bro. I mean, I've told you, you're like the ultimate kayak guy, because you drive around, you got this badass minivan. You put that little kayak on the roof, and you get like 30 miles to the gallon. You can sleep in your rig
comfortably,
bro. I'm looking at that stuff going, if I didn't own my pickup outright, I would be looking at a change. But the thought of picking something else up and having a truck payment or whatever, it's like, no, I don't want that. I'm gonna drive this thing till the wheels fall off of it.
as much as I love my little 10-foot native Slayer, and I do, it's a great boat. I do want to go up to like the 12.5 Slayer or a Hobie, maybe, I don't know, but then I can't roof rack it anymore. Then I'm looking at getting a trailer, so it's like, man, this little,
you can't get it.
Kayak is just too convenient, man.
You can't get it
struggling to get it up and down the ramp.
Who cares, bro? You wanted a 10-foot native. You're good.
Less weight.
Weight.
Yep.
You can't get it.
We stack ours in the back of our pickups because we're like, we need cheap gas.
Yep.
Hell yeah. You don't think you can get a 12 up on the roof of that thing?
I probably could get a 12.5 Slayer up there because mine without the drive and the seat is 65 pounds. I think the 12.5 is 85 pounds. So I could still, for a couple more years at least.
To pump some iron.
Yeah.
That's right. You don't be a girly man out there fishing.
Right. Pump some iron.
Yeah. So I'll probably have, when I can't get it up there anymore, I'll need to get a trailer probably, or a truck, probably a trailer because I just love sleeping in the back of the van when, those spring and fall.
We know where we're going in the Hales next time.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's right. That's right. The Hotel Colorado back there.
That's right. We'll have such a great time.
Yeah, I'm turning around if there's a lava lamp or beads hanging in there, brother. Okay, I'm just saying it right now. Hear that disco music going up. Come on in, y'all. Little Cheech and Chong action happening there. Now I'm seeing why you're taking the field here and doing this so quick. I get it. So what's next for Team Mues out there? Where you guys? What's the next event that you guys are looking to try to pick off right now?
Well, the next event I think is probably going to be the Bassmaster one for Nebraska that they're having at Wanahu. We're kind of looking in that one.
Yep.
Other than that, it's just going to be the KBF monthlies. That's just usually what we do. Just stay close to home. Don't have to travel as much and save the money for the big time stuff.
That's awesome.
I think we're going to continue flying back out to California. We should have another tournament in Arlington, but that's the Boater World.
Yep.
So we'll stick out there for about 7 days, 5 or 7 days.
7 days.
I tend to be saying do some extra fishing or try to hang out for a couple extra days.
Or even find somebody that's got some kayaks. You might be able to enter one of their tournaments out there and try fishing it. Just to say we did it, fish in California.
The fish are so much bigger in California, guys. I mean, I'm sorry.
It's Florida strain. It's Florida strain out there.
This is big. I finally caught a lunker smallmouth at Lake Almanar. It was the only one I got to take home, but I was like, I'll take it.
No kidding.
Definitely beautiful places that we'll be going to. We try to come back and then just fish the regular, whatever we really can. Seriously, it's better for us to fish with you guys because it's the same distance, really. I mean, we could choose, and dropping down to Norton really won't be that big of a deal, other than, like I told you guys earlier, we'd have to have another
different license,
fishing license, which is more money.
Take me fishing.org, man. That's I go there anytime because they have literally every state out there. It just takes you right to the official website, and it's such a walk in the park.
Yep. We appreciate it. At least it's easier to get them, but we like to go. I'm all for going new places. I cannot see what's like. I cannot wait to see what's around the next bend.
One of our goals was to actually fish in Colorado, just like to go fish there one time.
Oh, nice.
We looked at it one time. We're in Colorado. I'm like, man, those fishing licenses are expensive. I don't know if I want to.
I know, right?
Money and going to a place.
And then you have to have all these crazy rules. You have to stop like off the interstate in this little crazy like shack on the side of the road, and it didn't look like anybody was there. You kind of knock, and you're like, anybody in there? And then they're like, oh yeah, you need this sticker and this stamp and this, and I was like, oh my.
Well, trust me, we know out here it's more expensive in most cases for me to fish in my home state than it is for me to go into the Midwest and fish the All-American, at like say Iowa or Missouri or whatever. You can get an annual non-resident out of Missouri for like $50, man. And they're like, do it. You're good to go.
Well, you get some giant old fish in there. At least you get some cool bites.
And you don't get run over by paddle boarders and wakeboards around every corner.
Yeah, it is.
Matt, are you heading to Trinidad? Are you going to try to pick that off with CKFC?
Yep, heading down to Trinidad on Friday. Yep.
That's awesome.
It's going to be it's a good one. The only 2 times I've been there were with the 2 clubs last season, and
Yep.
It's an awesome fishery, man.
It is.
They've got some monster smallies in that place.
I will say this. I will go to Trinidad again if I can camp. But
Yep.
I will never, ever stay in a hotel down there ever again. I'll be professional and not mention the name of it.
Yep.
But I have, again, I want to mention this. I have traveled this great nation from East Coast to West Coast fishing. And I can tell you the sketchiest place I've ever stayed has been in Trinidad, Colorado.
Really?
I slept, made sure I put on, I had my jammies on, and I opened my curtains so that I could see the back of my pickup. And I remember sitting there going, okay, I'm not a lefty, but I can still hit the back. Even with a blurry vision, I think I could hit the back of my truck from here. So I set the pistol down, and I'm like, all right, we're good to go. I'm telling you, dude, there were some you're just too close to the border of New Mexico, and the traffic that comes through that town because it's Colorado. Bro, it's sketchy.
Texas license plates you see around town, I'm assuming they just crossed the border for the legal weed. That's the only, I'm guessing, but just tons of Texas license plates all over town.
I would venture to say
sketchy ones. I'm just saying you do get a lot of people.
I'll say it. They're sketchy, all right? Just way too many people in that little town.
Guys, welcome to kayak fishing. For the rest of the duration and all the years, this is how it goes. We have seen some places are better than others, but we've left places because we went to go stay at a motel room and we found slugs on the ground, needles.
People were living there. Like, we're not leaving my kayak.
Yeah.
I told Dustin, I'm like, absolutely not. I don't even care what we got to do, but we ain't.
If you ever have a chance, get an Airbnb or whatever.
Yeah, I'll do that.
A BRB.
Stay with your buddies.
Stay with your friends out in a good
what we did.
part
We
of
had
town.
to bring every time we went to these sketch places. Dustin made me carry kayaks upstairs.
Yeah.
All right.
He's like,
I'll wake up in the morning. They'll be gone. I'll guarantee it.
We'll be trying to get in our room, and you can't go to the bathroom. You can't do anything because we've got kayaks and fishing gear stacked to the roof.
I did that in Trinidad last year. Actually, I stayed in one of the hotels in Trinidad last year, and since I've got the little 10-footer, I brought it in the hotel room.
That's wild.
That's what I
I wasn't
did
taking
too.
any chances. Yep.
I put
Now
my
we
big.
don't stand the top rack so that we actually can bring the kayaks in.
Yep, I need a floor room.
Yep.
So that trip there cemented me completing my disinfectant and sanitary kit that I carry in my truck with me. I've got it's a very earth-friendly bed bug killer, and just about anything else. It doesn't gas you out, but yeah, I sprayed that room from top to bottom, re-cleaned the bathroom because I'm like, nah, dog, I'm not sitting down on that. No, don't even know what's going on there.
This is me and Dustin at every hotel.
Yeah.
We want to fish, so it's so expensive. You have to budget.
Yeah.
But you don't. Sometimes the reviews are just total lies,
Right?
And you go and you're like, "Oh, this is not what we saw online at all."
Yeah.
Somebody photoshopped those pictures.
Exactly. No, the way Matt's got it locked up, brother, being able to, you are mobile everywhere you go. That is, I was doing that for a little bit last year. I slept in the back of my pickup like at Pueblo. I had one of those tent extenders because my bed's only 5'8", right? It's a small bed. And even me sideways, I'm sticking out of that thing.
Well, you're a tall man.
Yeah, so it was a matter of, getting something that I could stay at, but I knew I was not going to try to camp down there because after a while I had too much shit in the back of my truck. And it's like, okay, where do I put all this stuff? I keep trying to thin it out, but it just keeps growing every time I turn around. So yeah, man, that was thinking about, your setup there, Matt. That a lot of times, if I look for one of those,
you can speed off.
Yeah.
If it gets real bad, boom, you're gone.
Yep, we're done.
The drawback to it though is once we get in later into the summer though, it's back to the rooms because it just gets. I'm an air conditioning queen. I need my AC if it gets too hot.
I'm with you.
Yeah, even if it gets a little stuffy in the van, I'll run it for 40 minutes, wasting gas just to turn the AC on a little bit. So once it gets hotter, Once it gets too hot, I can't stay in it anymore. But I'm staying in it at Trinidad this weekend. This might be the last one for a couple months.
Wilson Lake last year, All-American Kayak Series, and it happened also at the end of the year when I was down at Bull Shoals. Dude, all my chins were sweating. It was so bad trying to sit. I got in the front of the pickup and literally left that thing running for like 4 hours because I just had the AC on, and I'm like, I'm going to sleep at least a little better in the seat of this thing. But yeah, it was rough. And so it's like, no.
I felt bad for you guys fishing that second day. You was still draining and tiring. I don't know how. I mean, that second day had to be a long one.
I would take rain over 100 degrees any day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, that day one was weird when the sun came out.
I thought we might have been getting blown away by. Yep. I wasn't really sure if we were going to get a tornado or hail or. It was every weather pattern that existed.
It did both days, late afternoon, about the last hour of the day. Well, no, I guess we got some wind, but I don't know. At some point in the afternoon on both days, for a good 40 minutes to an hour, the wind died, the clouds opened up, and it got hot just sitting there. Like it was like oh yeah,
like burning your skin.
Nebraska. It gets hot.
Where that came from.
It felt like you had fire on your skin.
That was like a weird heat wave that came over and burnt your legs off.
And you mark my words on this, and this is not a political statement. I'm not getting into any of that mess. But I have absolutely been a person over the course of many years who's been outdoors. There is no question in my mind whatsoever. The sun is more potent now than it ever has been. So I don't give a rat's behind about anything else. I can just tell you that sun is trying to kill you, especially here in Colorado. Something's going on. You know, we have less atmosphere here, but everywhere the sun is just a little bit. I was first thinking it was me just getting older and my skin's not used to it or whatever. But I hear many people like you, Jen, that are talking about this, and Dustin, that it's just getting, where, it doesn't take long and all of a sudden you're like, what the heck?
June.
Yeah, right?
June in Nebraska, and we had the craziest weather patterns. Tell everybody, I don't know if you guys saw them. I saw them. I went back out after everybody left, and they're still spawning bass all over the lake.
Yeah.
Yep, spawning bass, spawning crappie, and spawning bluegill.
They're still spawning.
And the carp. Everything was spawning at the same time.
I've
never seen that before.
Were crazy this time around. And still, typically, it should be, you guys were here last year, it's supposed to be 100-something, 100-something. That's what you say.
Right.
And it wasn't this time. It was the conditions were a little bit better, but that was that day one storm stuff, that was sketchy crack. It was sketchy. Oh
yeah, after we all got off the water, my pickup got a heck of a high power wash on the way back into McCook.
We drove. We didn't realize that we were going back to the thing. We thought it was at 5:30, so we're like, what are we going to do for 2.5 hours?
Right.
So we missed it. But yeah, we drove home in that crap too. That was crazy.
Yep. Matt, did you see the same thing where some of the fish you catch were pre-spawn, some were spawn, some were post-spawn?
Yep.
It was really weird. Just you could tell. You got the big thick, them thick girls running around. You could tell they hadn't spawned yet. Then you had some real thinned out bloody tails here and there. Even some of the buck bass looking a little beat up here and there that, they've been going. Mm-hmm. And then others that were no signs of beat up, but still skinny. You could tell that they were post at that point.
I got a couple with bloody tails who were clearly bedding. I didn't sight fish them. I was casting shallow all day, so I probably got a couple spawners just by accident, not even sight fishing. But
I spent an hour yesterday.
Yeah, my 21. She was on a bed. I mean, she was sitting on a little tiny tree that was on the side of the bank, and I casted to it twice and caught her. And then whenever everybody was in my spot, I'm like, well, I'm just going to go back to Fish the Cove again. There's 2 good fish in there. I'm going to go see if I can catch some more. And I went clear back where she was at, and I saw her. She was just sitting there on that tree still, just waiting. I don't know if she's waiting for a buck or what.
Yeah.
Because, she's just sitting there waiting. Just
wow.
shallow 1 foot of water.
She was waiting for breakfast.
Yeah.
So is it always as rainy as it was the last couple of weeks this time of year out
No.
there?
It hasn't been. This is the most rain we've had for years.
Yeah, we finally are getting some rain. This is the first of it. That lake was completely empty as
because we're planning on coming back next season for another 2-dayer.
Right.
And Strawbridge was asking us, like, what do you guys think? Same time of year, later, earlier? And
well, if it was me, I'd always go earlier, just because of the temperature. Just so people that are camping, you don't want to camp like you did the year before, where it's 115 degrees. You want to do it earlier in the year, so it's cooler on you.
There, you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just.
We're still catching them all the time.
I think we just got a little unlucky with the rain.
We did.
Shutting them down a little bit. We had a few, more people not do quite as well as we expected, but because I think they were just shut down a little bit,
They were.
I think they possibly were going to spawn before all the rain, and they were setting up to do it, and then the rain came in and filled the lake up, and they're like, well, go back to the deep because the water rose, 3 or 4 feet, and now our beds are going to be too deep in the water, in the muddy water. They need the sunlight. So they just backed off, and then that's why they're moving up, and everything's spawning now.
But still, an odd time to spawn. I've never really seen a lot of spawners this time of year, and maybe it's just because I haven't seen them like that. But the fish that I caught last June was on a bed, had a bloody tail in the same spot. I posted it. If you go to I posted that fish today. I caught it exactly 1 year ago today, and I believe that's the fish I missed tournament day at like 1:22.
Like a 22 something.
I would have gotten big fish if I could have gotten it in. But
That's awesome. Well, listen, guys, thank you so very much for everybody taking the time out here to give us a good recap on Red Willow. It was, maybe it would have been some struggle fishing, but it was absolutely a blast. Of course, out fishing and meeting people, and there were some big fish put up there. Yeah,
fish over 20 inches in the tournament. That in the tournament. 10 fish over 20 inches in 2 days of tournaments. That's a good turnout.
If we actually got everybody together, there were so many 20-inch bass caught at Red Willow. It was really
awesome.
It was.
It continues to produce those numbers, and knowing that any cast, one of those swamp donkeys is going to jump on your hook, that could be a ton of fun.
I feel like we're kind of that lake, that sat still for a while, and everybody started really managing and practicing, catch and release. So I feel like you're catching a lot of old bass. I have heard, I don't know if everybody should know, I have heard there's a double-digit bass in that lake.
Wow.
So there's one, there's probably two.
I've heard that the next state record is going to come out of Red Willow Reservoir.
It could. I
heard it from a really reliable source because we're around. We actually do some of the kids events for the Game of Hearts. Every once in a while we help out with that. And
nice.
So I have heard that there's a lumper in here. I think there's a tournament coming for you guys, in another couple of weeks here?
Not for us.
But isn't there another tournament?
Oh, CKFC's coming there,
with CKFC. I don't think it's until August, though, I want to say.
Oh, yeah.
It's later. It's later.
Definitely in August.
August is still good.
It's still a good month because you're heading into fall, and that's long to go. I'm sorry.
It wasn't originally on the schedule, but we had to cancel John Martin because of weather, so the replacement
they
threw Cook on there.
That's awesome. Yep. Well, listen, guys.
We'd love to have you guys back. It was a pleasure to meet you guys.
Can't wait.
Absolutely.
We'll come to some of your other tournaments. We'll show up in Colorado and try to whoop up on you guys there.
That would be awesome. Yeah, that is something that the more it's cool to see the CKB continue to grow and pick up its numbers there of reliable, solid hooks that are there for all the we're all in it for the same reason out there. So that's super cool to see it. But folks, remember to make sure to go out and hit the subscribe button. That is a massive, massive help for us here at the True Patriot Outfitters. The more that we get a chance to get the mission out there, that is exactly what we're trying to do with this. We talk fishing, we talk service to others, we do the nonprofit side of things as well, and this is how we bridge those gaps. So make sure to get us those likes, those follows, all that good stuff out there. Dustin and Jen, thank you so much for joining us here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Matt, my friend, congratulations, and thank you big time for all the work you do out there. It is something that should be mentioned as well, Matt. You're an assistant director with the CKB, so dude, you're a double volunteer out there with that, and we sincerely appreciate all your hard work that you and James put in for all of us out there.
Absolutely.
You guys stick with me here after the exit here, and then I'll chat with you guys right after this. So, folks, tight lines and be safe.